Hey, welcome back to Gentle Reminder, the show where we catch you up on everything IT and tech services threw at us this week, so you don't have to doom scroll 5 different news sites at 11 p.m. This week, IBM has literally its worst day ever on the stock market. KPMG Australia's scandal bill finally comes due, and Thomson Reuters trades engineers for AI. Let's start with the headlines. Quick hits, no fluff. IBM shares cratered 25% on July 14th, its single worst trading day in company history, dating back to 1916. That's a bigger one-day drop than Black Monday in 1987. The trigger, a surprise preliminary earnings warning. Revenue came in at $17.2 billion, missing estimates by about $660 million, with infrastructure, mainframes, down 7%. CEO Arvind Krishna told investors flat out, "We faltered." The read from analysts, clients are diverting IT budgets towards scarce, pricier AI memory chips and servers, and delaying software and consulting spend to pay for it. If you sell software or consulting into enterprise IT, watch your Q3 pipeline closely. This memory chip crunch is quietly reshuffling budgets industry-wide, not just at IBM. Next up, Thomson Reuters announced July 13th it's cutting up to 500 engineering roles, about 5.2% of its technology unit, while planning to hire 250-plus new AI-native senior engineering roles over the next 2 years. The kicker: this isn't a struggling company. Revenue grew 10% year over year. It's a deliberate profile swap, not a survival move. This is the clearest public signal yet that AI-native hiring doesn't mean fewer engineers. It means a different kind of engineer, worth a hard look at your own team's skill mix. Third headline, KPMG's Australia consultancy arm is preparing to cut as many as 1,000 jobs and slash partner pay by up to 20%, following its audit-leak scandal. Whistleblower allegations: the firm used confidential client data to win contracts. The chairman, CEO, and head of audit have all already departed, and Australia's corporate regulator has a formal investigation open. A trust scandal doesn't just cost reputation, it shows up on the balance sheet eventually every time. And in Who's Winning, the Microsoft AI arms race news, ISG's 2026 Provider Lens report evaluated 35 service providers and named Accenture, Cognizant, DXC, HCL Tech, Hexaware, Infosys, NTT Data, Rackspace, and TCS as leaders across all 4 categories. Wipro also grabbed the top customer experience score in ISG's Voice of the Customer survey. If you're picking a Microsoft ecosystem partner, this report is basically a shortlist. Check it before your next RFP. 4 very different stories, one theme. AI is reshuffling who wins in IT services. Sometimes that's a stock crash, sometimes it's a layoff, and sometimes it's just a really good analyst report. Alright, now for the story I've genuinely been saving the good stuff for: Xbox versus its own workforce, and workforce is currently winning the PR fight. Quick recap for anyone who missed the opening act. On July 6th, new Xbox CEO Asha Sharma announced what she called the most significant restructure in Xbox history. 1,600 roles eliminated immediately, another 1,600 coming over the fiscal year, and 4 studios sold or spun off, including Double Fine, Compulsion Games, and Ninja Theory. The stated reason: Xbox is running at roughly 3% profitability, way under Microsoft's 30% target for major divisions, after more than $20 billion in content and platform spending over 5 years, while revenue actually shrank. Microsoft as a whole is not struggling. It posted $31.8 billion in net income last quarter. Xbox specifically is. Here's where it gets interesting. Xbox has unionized studios now: ZeniMax, Raven Software, Blizzard QA, and this week they made that very, very clear. On July 15th, hundreds of developers marched simultaneously outside 6 Xbox-affiliated studios in 4 cities: id Software in Richardson, Texas, Bethesda, and others, in what's being described as the first coordinated multi-studio labor action in gaming history. One id Software producer, laid off after 2.5 years on the job, put it simply to a local reporter: the people who had the institutional knowledge to actually run these games are the ones who just got walked out the door. Same day, the Communications Workers of America filed an official unfair labor practice charge against Microsoft and its Xbox subsidiaries, accusing the company of skipping decisional bargaining entirely and making unilateral contract changes before the union even had a chance to sit down at the table. And this isn't a one-off. According to reporting cited by multiple outlets, this marks at least 3 consecutive years Xbox has run a mass layoff. The Bethesda union's own statement called it, and I quote loosely here, a stressful annual routine at this point. The legal fight actually hinges on something pretty nerdy but important. Under labor law, companies sometimes only have to negotiate the consequences of a layoff, severance, timing, not whether the layoff happens at all. The union is arguing Microsoft owed them a seat at the table before the decision was final, not just after. That distinction is going to decide whether these marches produce anything more than headlines. And look, a gentle reminder to every executive drafting a most significant restructure in our history memo. If your own workforce has a union, announce first, negotiate later is not a strategy, it's a lawsuit with extra steps. Whether or not the ULP charge succeeds, this is the loudest signal yet that game industry unions are coordinating across studios in real time. Any company managing a unionized creative workforce should assume quiet restructuring isn't an option anymore. For my recommendation this week, I'm not going to be subtle about it. Gentle reminder to go check your patch status, because Microsoft just had, and I cannot stress this enough, the single biggest Patch Tuesday in its history. July's Patch Tuesday, released July 14th, fixed 570 security vulnerabilities. That's not a typo. That's almost triple last month's total of 206, which was already a record at the time. Why this matters in 3 quick points. First, 59 of those are rated critical, and 48 of those are remote code execution bugs, the kind that let an attacker take over a machine with little to no user interaction. Second, 3 of the flaws are 0 days, and 2 were already being actively exploited in the wild before the patch even shipped. Third, and this is the part that should actually change how you think about next month too, Microsoft says the sheer volume is because they've deployed a new AI-powered vulnerability discovery system scanning the Windows codebase. The 2 under active attack right now, one in Active Directory Federation services, letting an authenticated attacker jump to admin privileges, and one in SharePoint Server, which security teams should treat as urgent, regardless of its moderate label, since SharePoint elevation bugs have a track record of getting chained into full server takeovers. If you only have bandwidth to prioritize 2 things this week, make it those 2. SharePoint Server and ADFS. Everything else can wait a few more days if it has to. That can't. Quick checklist. Confirm your endpoints have pulled the July update. Specifically, check on-prem SharePoint farms since those are the highest risk targets right now. And if you're running BitLocker, there's also a publicly disclosed bypass in this batch. So don't skip that one just because it's not actively exploited yet. And because I clearly can't help myself. Gentle reminder that AI found more bugs is going to be the story every single month from here on out, not just this one. Build the patching cadence now because 570 is probably not the ceiling. Alright, that's your week in IT tech services. IBM had its worst trading day in 115 years. Thomson Reuters traded 500 engineers for AI native hires. KPMG Australia is paying for its scandal and job cuts. Xbox tried to restructure quietly and got 6 studios worth of marches instead. And Microsoft just handed every sysadmin on Earth 570 reasons to update this weekend. If this saved you from scrolling 5 different tech news sites this week, hit subscribe. It genuinely helps the new channel, and I'll keep doing the scrolling so you don't have to. I'll see you next week with your next gentle reminder.